So, hi Kobe, how are you?
Shirley, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's nice to meet you in Canberra, though.
It's so nice for you to visit.
I know. Well, so talking about Australia, though, I saw a lot of diversity in here, and you're as Australian, you see a lot of differences, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
a
So,
lot.
what do you think about differences in Australia from Australian perspective?
Yeah, so in my perspective, I really like diversity.
Uh-huh.
I think that it's actually a privilege that we have so much diversity in Australia. I think it really enriches our community.
Yeah.
I loved it. I grew up in a small regional town. And
Yeah. In Australia, yeah?
and it's quite monocultural there. So
Ah.
there's not so many people of different backgrounds in that town. But when I moved to Melbourne, I really experienced diversity the same way that you did, and made me thought, whoa, there are so many people there.
Yeah.
So many people of different cultures and
Yeah.
backgrounds, and it's really great.
Yeah, and based on the historical line of Australia as well, this continent is actually founded not by what they said as Australian people,
Yes.
right? So the diversity represent a lot of things from historical perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess the diversity started when the colonization started.
Yep.
Or maybe even before that, because we have so many different tribal groups of Indigenous people in Australia.
Yeah.
So, Australia has always been a diverse
It
nation, and I think
is.
it's something to be proud of and celebrated. Yeah.
And you have to be proud though, because from 2002, I think
Yes.
the Australian government already pronounced that they are recognized or something.
Yes.
The Aboriginal people, right?
Yeah, they apologise to the Aboriginal
Yeah,
people for
yeah.
some of the problems in the past.
And I can see that
and it's
from
really good. It's a really good step forward for our country.
yeah. So what about from your perspective as Australian?
Yeah.
If you see the differences between, so let's say, white people and black people, what will come to your mind?
The differences?
Yeah.
I don't really see difference in colour, in skin
Ah,
colour,
okay.
personally.
Yeah.
But I guess there are differences in social class sometimes
Yeah.
between white Australians and maybe Indigenous Australians.
Oh.
There are problems and there are differences, but I don't see it as a barrier.
Yeah.
I think that it's like I said, something to be celebrated. But I guess that you can see differences in education levels and health levels, which can be a problem for our country, and it's something that we do need to work on.
Yeah. So nice to see Australia as a melting pot, right?
Yes.
Particularly in Melbourne.
Yeah.
How do you see Melbourne as a melting pot, particularly for youth?
Yeah, particularly for youth. I think it's a great thing, like going to university and working at a university, like, you see such a mix of cultures and of
It is,
backgrounds.
exactly.
And I also volunteered with a youth centre in
Yeah.
Fitzroy, which had a really big mix of cultures. So there's a lot of African descent people, also people from the Middle East and from Asia. It's really nice to meet people of different cultures to the same age as me, that actually were Australian as well. But even though they don't look like your typical Aussie, or maybe their first language isn't English, they are still Australian people. So that's great. I like that.
So according to your experience, what is the biggest challenge to connect all the differences? Because like based on your experience working with many cultures, convince them that everyone is the same in Australia, even though they are from different background of country.
Yep.
Is language is a barrier?
Sometimes language can be a barrier, but I think for the younger generation, it's not a big barrier. Most people can speak English quite well, even if they have come from a different country. The education system works quite well, and when they are that young, they are immersed in English, so it's easy for them to learn it. But it can be a barrier. I know for sure that there are people from certain backgrounds that struggle to pick up English quickly. Well, maybe it's because it's not spoken at home or something like that, and they're using their first language more. And maybe they're shy to speak in English as well. So that can be.
You know what? I have heard from my friend that, let's say me from Indonesia.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of Indonesian people in here in Australia. They're a bit shy to speak English with Australian, to be honest. And when I asked Australian why do you think Indonesian is a bit shy to speak with you, then Australians said that maybe the shy is not from you, but from us to start it.
Yes.
Is it right?
Sometimes it can be. Sometimes we like to stick to our own groups of people, with the people we feel comfortable with. And I know when I first moved to Melbourne as a young student, the people that I was drawn to naturally were people that looked like me. So my friends became people that were also white, young, Australian-looking people. But as I got more mature and more confident with myself, I started to meet other students from China or Korea or Vietnam, for example. Lots of different people, even from Sudan, places like that. I think that it is up to Australians to break that barrier first, because the international students or the migrant students are the ones that have that lack of confidence. So I think it's really up to Australians to really be the first ones to say hello, to say where are you from, and maybe not even where are you from. Don't presume they're from overseas just because they don't look Australian. Like it's not really any such thing as Australian anymore, but
it is. Because like, so diverse.
Not where are you from, but tell me about you. Like what do you like? Did you grow up in Melbourne?
What are you doing here?
Exactly.
Things like that. People like to say something about themselves.
Exactly. Let them tell you their story.
It is. I think you like Indonesian culture, am I right?
You're right.
I love it.
I really love it.
Why? I mean, there are a lot of culture.
Why
do you choose Indonesian language, bahasa, to be learned as a second language, probably?
It was something offered to me in my primary schooling and my high schooling. Fell in love with it through that. Like I had some really passionate teachers. And there was things like Wayang Kulit, Gamelan, some movies that we watched in Indonesian class, which really made me feel like, I like this culture. And the language wasn't difficult to pick up, to be honest. It was something that I found quite easy to learn. I guess because the alphabet is similar, the pronunciation can be quite similar.
It's interesting to see that language can be diplomacy tool between youth. To see from different perspectives and learn from each other.
Learning from each other is so important.
And what do you think if Indonesian, let's say me as an Indonesian and you as an Australian speak vice versa? So I learned how to speak in English in my senior high school or junior high school, things like that. And you said as well that you learned bahasa in your high school. That's good. So
that's great.
Do you think that language as a diplomacy tools is effective to engage Indonesian and Australian youth to be like a good friend?
I think it's very important. Like if I didn't know any Indonesian when I first went to Jakarta, I think it would have been quite difficult to connect with people. It gives, I don't know, but it's a sign of respect as well. Everyone in the office, because it was the United Nations, spoke English perfectly, fluently, but it was an extra level of respect and understanding that I could speak a little bit of Indonesian, and they liked teaching me as well. So I think anywhere you travel, if you can say something in that language of that country, you automatically gain some respect and understanding with the local people, and they really appreciate it.
And you know what? Kirby is my international student representative in Sweden when I was at the uni in Australia. I was not in uni anymore.
No, you graduated. Almost graduated.
Almost graduated. You saw a lot of differences in academic life.
Yes.
Is there any differences between academic life and the real life in Australia, in terms of how Australians respect the diverse itself? Maybe in the uni, because it's quite academic probably. So we respect people who different from us a bit higher than in the social level. What do you think?
It's possible. There is a lot of respect in the academic world for people of other cultures and of diversity, and you do see trends in Australia of people that are have a higher education rate, having more tolerance towards people of different backgrounds. But I think actually Australia has become more tolerant and more open as the years have gone on. I like to hope so anyway.
So what can we do to make us more respect to the other? People get used to the diversity, to respect each other. So what can we do as a young people?
What can we do? I think it's about exposure, about really breaking down barriers and opening up to one another.
And we can change from ourselves then. From our little and tiny ecosystem. Start a big. We can change a bigger.
Exactly. Totally.
Thank you so
Not
much.
a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kobe.